Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jess and Paul Burgess, who I call the Great and Powerful. In our next installment of Solving the Health Puzzle, Why Am I Sick? The Real Reasons. Paul, we've been getting on my end, we've been getting some pretty good feedback
Yeah,
on our,
yeah.
what have you been seeing?
Yeah, we are getting feedback because what we are explaining to people is something they're not thinking about or weren't aware of or don't see as the norm. And that's the kind of message we're trying to get out, is that, this normal perspective that people have, which is, what's the one thing I need to get fixed? Or, I need to be fixed quickly and with as little effort as possible. What's the pill I need? I've got 4 weeks to get this turned around, whatever it is. That stuff, which is the way people have been seeing things for so long, we're talking about it in a completely different way. And the message we're trying to get out is, actually, this stuff takes a long time and it can't be fixed quickly, and there isn't a quick fix. And so people are starting to realize that they've tried that old method. It hasn't worked for them. They've bounced from one to the other, to the other, to the other, across many years or decades even, and never really got anywhere. And finally, someone's saying, stop doing that. That is not the way forward.
I know that you put these principles into your practice, and I've learned an incredible amount from you. I know we've shared information and we've been friends for several years, and I've always been happy to share loads of technical information with you. But in my practice and the success of my present practice, which is far above where it used to be, many of the principles that you've taught me and you shared with me, when I initiated them, inclusive of what I already do, is when the real healing took place. And I know you have a story for us today. I think it's important that people realize that, they realize the timeless wisdom, if you will. I think Albert Einstein said, if you do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that we get, more clarity, stop being insane, stop following the same path over and over and over again and expecting a different result. It's time to get off that path and start thinking a different way.
And thinking about it in a different way is the key to the first step. And as you know, I have a training company that trains practitioners, and we teach them how to do this and use this new model. And one of the things, what part of the process is to speak to people and find out what's most important. And we've spoken about that before on here previously. We said, find out what's most important and whatnot. But examples of that are really useful because people, I don't know why, but I have an innate ability to question people in a way that makes a lot of sense to me, and is able to get quite deep, meaningful responses from them. And it can happen anywhere. So I was out recently and I met somebody that I kind of know, so an acquaintance, you might say, and we were chatting, and we were talking about something completely different, but the conversation got round to health, and she was talking about, I'm trying to lose some weight and I always have a trouble with it and blah blah blah. And I just said to her, what's most important to you about your health? And she looked at me, he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, what's the most important thing to you about your health? He said, well, I'm trying to lose weight, so I said, yeah, but what about losing weight is important to you? Why is that an important thing to do? I said, well, because I just feel as though it's the only thing in life that I don't have control on. I said, well, how do you mean? She says, well, work, I do lots of work and I really work quite hard. And then, I'm quite happy with my marriage and my family. I do a lot of work for them, but I kind of sit and work, and then I treat myself by eating something I shouldn't because I feel as though I've done all this work. And she said, I just can't get around that. And it's been like that for years. I said, but what would losing weight give you? And he said, well, it would make me feel a bit better about, being in control of things. I said, well, why do you want to be in control of things? Well, because, it's something I just need to lose the weight. I said, I know, but Why do you need to lose the weight? Well, it just makes me feel better about myself, because at the moment I keep self-sabotaging it. And I don't understand why. Okay. Why do you think you self-sabotage it? I don't know. I really don't understand it. I said, okay, hear me out. See what you think. I said, you have already said you're massively conscientious at work. You go over and above the amount of work you need, the hours you do. You know, you put everything out for everybody else. And you portray yourself, which is correct, by the way, as this really helpful, giving, valuable person. But you don't believe that about yourself. And so to rebalance the situation, you sabotage any kind of dieting to show people I'm not really that good. Well, I know I'm great at giving to you and helping you out, and I'll do anything for you, but I'm not really that good a person because, look, I can't control this. And it brings you into a more comfortable place because you haven't got a good self-esteem about yourself. And she was like, yeah, that's exactly it. So, okay, why is it important for you to help all these other people as much as you do? Why do you go over and, above and beyond for your work? Why do you do all these things? Well, because I like helping people, and that's the thing that makes me feel happy about life. And, I love to help people. Okay. So helping people is the most important thing to you. And to do that, like you said, you need to be healthy and you want to have energy, because sometimes you don't sleep very well and you've got all the other issues that weighing too much brings on with it, cognitive function, that kind of thing. If that's the most important thing, and being there for your family and friends and work colleagues and everything else, when we look at your strategy currently towards that, we can see that it's slightly flawed. Because as much as the goal is to be productive, your habits around your food are causing you to be unproductive, because the energy is not there, the sleep's not there, the cognitive function, the creativity, all that kind of stuff is getting compromised by the fact that you're eating stuff that you shouldn't be eating, lots of sugar, lots of carbohydrate, potentially the wrong kind of fats, all that. You're just not eating great. And that's making you feel sluggish, making you feel tired, not allowing you to lose weight, that kind of stuff. So if we change that very slightly and just marginally adjust your belief around what you should be eating and what really is a treat for you, then your behavior will change, and therefore the weight will change, and also the outcome will change as to how valuable you are to the people when you turn up, right? Because if you're going to turn up, you want to make sure that you actually turn up, right? And not some representation of yourself that is broken and tired and everything else, right? I said, so knowing that that's an important thing. And also, by the way, if you were to lose the weight you think you need to lose and have the energy and be sleeping well and have great sex drive and really productive and creative and everything else, how would you feel if that was you? And she said, oh, that'd be amazing. It's great. So we can treat you after you've worked so hard, or after you've given up your time to somebody else. We can treat you by eating the right foods that then give you all of those benefits you've just said you want. And we can just change it to things that are going to give you all of those amazing values. So you can be more energetic, have better creativity, be more passionate about life, all the rest of it. It's an easy thing. We can easily change that. And she just looked at me like, that's ridiculous. That's like the first time someone's explained it to me that makes so much sense. I can't believe that. And literally she had this stunned look on her face. And bear in mind, she wasn't a patient of mine. I wasn't treating her. It was just a conversation we were having, as we happened to meet up randomly. But the point of the story is, when you get to talk to people in the right way and they get to understand what's most important to them and how what they're doing currently is giving them an outcome they don't want, it's so easy to start making adjustments at that very basic level of belief. And then they're bought into it so strongly that that's what they want to do. It's not that I want to stop myself having ice cream. I need to be disciplined and resist it, because willpower will always fail. But when the mindset is, I want to eat those vegetables, those good fats. I want to eat those foods that are going to serve me and make me feel amazing and this, that, and the other. I want that colourful plate. I want to be able to do this stuff because the value I get from this is incredible. There's no longer a choice to be made.
Right.
I had another patient of mine a couple of years ago who I remember saying to me one day, she says, I went into the supermarket to get something to eat. In fact, it was even better than that. She said, I was really busy all day. And I didn't get, it was 2:00 and I hadn't eaten. She was in her 60s. Originally came to me with cholesterol issues, blood glucose management, all that kind of thing. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. I hadn't eaten and I was on my way to a hairdresser's appointment. So I rushed into the supermarket to get something to eat. And all I was faced with was a wall of sandwiches. And I didn't want bread. I don't eat it anymore. It's no good for me. I know what it does to me. So it wasn't even a choice. I didn't even acknowledge it was there because it wasn't for me. And she said, I think she ended up getting some cheese and some nuts or something like that. Grabbed it, had a few mouthfuls of it, and then went to her appointment, and then had her hair appointment, and then got home about 5:30, 5:45, and the husband was cooking, and she realised that, oh, dinner's going to be ready at 6:30. I just won't bother eating anything else. So I said, okay, let's just rewind a bit, and let's just get some clarity on what's happened here. Firstly, how did you feel at 2:00 when you hadn't eaten? And she said, I felt great. I didn't even come into my conscious. I wasn't even bothered. It's just that I looked at the time and thought I should eat something. That's very different to when she first met me a year before, where she was having to eat to keep blood glucose managed, right? I said, and then when you went into the supermarket and found these choices, how did you feel about the fact that it was all the sandwiches and you chose something else? She said, it wasn't a choice. It's not even an acknowledgement anymore. It's not like I'm disciplined. It's just like I prefer to eat that stuff. I said, okay. And then the other thing was, you didn't actually eat it, did you? I said, well, I had a few handfuls of it, but I didn't really, most of it was left. I didn't really eat because I had to get to the appointment. So I said, so not only did you basically not eat anything all day, but you felt great. And when you got home and you knew the food was being cooked, you didn't go, I can't wait the extra half hour. I'm going to go and eat a load of biscuits. You said, I'm going to wait and I feel great about it. And then I said to her, think back 6 months, a year. Would that have ever happened? She says, that I wouldn't even got to 2:00. I'd have eaten all sorts of nonsense. I said, can you see how now your life has changed? And obviously we've dealt with a lot of underlying health issues with her. I said, can you see now how your life has changed to be one that isn't disciplined? You don't need to have the willpower. It's all about, these are just the choices I want to have. On the back of that, her daughter and her husband have all been patients of mine. And they're very happy, thank you very much. And they're late 60s, the parents are late 60s, the daughter's in her mid-20s, all got various different things going on. But you don't get those kind of referrals, and these people pay a lot of money for a year, right? You don't get that kind of business, if you like, for want of a better word, if you're doing the same as everyone else, and these things don't last very long. Right, we're doing this because people are now changing their life permanently, like when you're doing it. Right, people are coming to you, getting fixed in inverted commas because they want to get rid of a health issue.
Right.
But what we're actually doing is changing their life so they can start enjoying it every day. Exactly. And that stuff is massively powerful. And that's where people are still getting into this thing about, get away from that old thing about it's going to be a quick fix. It's going to be, a few pounds or a few dollars, whatever it is, and you'll be good to go. Just take this supplement. That stuff does not work.
To support what Paul's saying, for those people with chronic illnesses like diabetes, neuropsychiatric illnesses, and so forth, the medicines are not the answer. I'm not saying that we shouldn't control blood sugar or control, serious mental illness, but there are root causes for these things. And if you attend to the root causes, you will be able to live. So remember that the medicines you're given are to maintain, or what they'll call stabilize, maintain your chronic illness, not cure it. So there's going to be a massive change that needs to be made. if you actually want to cure that chronic illness.
Yeah. Do you know metformin, right? Which is the first line of diabetes defense. Here's your metformin, 500 milligram twice a day,
Right.
and you'll be able to basically eat what you're eating, and your blood glucose will stabilize. I've used metformin, does nothing, right? Had no value, because I try lots of things because I always want to see what the outcome is, right? And there was talk at one point, and it might even still be the case, where metformin is seen to be a longevity insurance policy, right? If you use metformin and repurpose it for a longevity drug, people on metformin live longer. Absolute nonsense. What it does, and this is really important for people to understand, is if you have an unhealthy cell which is not metabolizing glucose properly, so the mitochondria are compromised and stuff's just not working, metformin at the cellular level will stop it getting any worse. So if you have somebody that is sick and doesn't take metformin, and then you have someone who is sick and does take it, the person that does not take it will gradually become worse and worse and worse. And the person who takes it will stay as they are. They will stay as sick as they are currently, right? So there's a difference if you have a third person who has the problem, doesn't take the drug, but now we fix the cellular metabolism, they then will live longer still. So there's no point taking a drug that doesn't cure anything and just keeps you going. That's not going to help the world or help you or help you be more productive or creative or energized. That's just going to keep you at the same level of sick. That's nonsense.
That is where our medical system is. Our medical system is not geared towards curing, although they say it that way. They're geared towards maintaining. And maintaining is exactly that, just not letting you get sicker. I've always been very cynical about this and said, is there more money in treating diabetes than curing diabetes? Is there more money in treating cancer than there is in curing cancer? And we've all heard the saying that a cured patient concerning big pharma, a cured patient is a lost customer. And a lot of this stuff may be cynical, and I always get a lot of pushback if I ever write something like that. But it all kind of hangs together,
right?
When you realize, if you look at how everything is set up these days.
Firstly, there's no cure for this stuff, right? No cure for Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, that kind of thing. We've said it before. It has to be prevention, and the prevention has to start at the very beginning, which is what are your beliefs behind your behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's your belief that it's okay to drink that water? What's your belief that it's okay to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning video gaming with friends around the world? Or whatever it is, that's where it has to start. I'm reading a book at the moment. I'm reading several, but one of them I'm reading is by Erin Brockovich, and it's about the water contamination in the US, specifically in the USA, and how bad it is now, and also how bad it has been. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised any of you are still alive, because that stuff is rife. And the amount of, and she's really open in this book, right? And it tells you all about how the big corporations are covering up the evidence, and how they're taking proven studies to show that there's a problem and then debunking them by putting out other false information to say that the person that authored the original paper has retracted it, even though they haven't.
Oh, yes, I know, I've seen it.
Right? And it's just like, are you kidding me? So when you've got a world set up to absolutely ruin you health-wise, not just your water, but everything, right? Electric light that's on 24/7, stress, social media, environmental toxicity, pollutants, whatever it is, when your world is set up like that, you don't have a chance if all you do is just drift along and not make a conscious effort to take control of that stuff. And that has to start from the very beginning. Start questioning, what's your belief behind that? What's your belief behind this? What actions do I really need to take? Because the ones I'm doing are making me sick. And it's a, you know, I can talk about that stuff for hours, but it's, and these are supposed
Yeah,
to be short.
it's easy to talk about truth. It
But
really
it's so
is.
important. It is so important.
It
It's
is.
set up to break us. So
It's important for everybody to realize what Paul said, because, you know, just take a look at whatever medications you're being prescribed, of your friends who have illnesses that they're frustrated with, that they've been here to one doctor, one specialist, another specialist, and the end result has been, you know, it's all inside your head. You know, that's the allopathic way of saying we don't know what's wrong. When they say something's idiopathic, which means you have it, but we don't know why. Because the paradigm is, well, if we can't find an identifiable thing, we're not going to listen to your history. We're not going to listen to what you say. We're just going to go along our algorithms. And that type of algorithmic thinking and the necessity to prove things by testing rather than by history has been the ruin uh, overall of our healthcare. Uh, we
and
have to
also,
start thinking, accepting, and start thinking a different way.
yeah, and also a lot of professionals in inverted commas who specialize in certain things are very narrow-minded.
Exactly.
They just haven't learned anything outside of their speciality. And then when you come along and say, do you know, I think those anti-seizure meds could be causing psychosis in this patient. No, can't be that. No, 100% it's not that. Okay, she never had a psychotic episode ever, started taking this drug, then she started having the episodes.
Exactly.
I don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to work out there's a connection there, right?
You know, it's interesting. In the classes that I teach practitioners, there's only one phrase that will get you thrown out of my class, even if you think it, because I'll know. And that phrase is, that can't happen. Once you say that in your mind or out loud, you cut off lines of communication. You cut off lines of investigation. So if somebody took something and started getting seizures, the statement should be, I wonder why that happened. That opens you up to start looking into it, because remember, every person's physiology is a supreme individual physiology. And just because it's not in my books doesn't mean it's not true for you. And it's my job to help figure it out, not only to treat the ongoing problem, but to start going back and saying, okay, how can we change course here so you get on the road, you know, the road to health that we all talk about. And it is a global point of view. I always say to people, you can understand something. Here's a problem with specialists and people who practice different specialities. They understand something right down to the quantum level in their particular field, but you can understand something right down to the quantum level, but you can only intervene globally. So it doesn't matter whether you understand methylation right down to the molecular level. You have to know what it does, why it does it, and how can you intervene? Because you can't intervene in one pathway or one thing. You have to intervene globally. In other words, fix the person. And what we've been talking about over the past few weeks is the beginning of that process.
Yeah. Someone the other day comes to me, he's on ADHD meds, and I'm kind of saying to him, okay, that's interesting. He's a grown-up. Maybe there's some other things going on that we can rebalance without the ADHD meds. They're giving him some side effects now he's not happy with. He goes to his specialist to talk about the side effects, and the specialist says, speak to your functional medicine guy and mention to him that it could be a histamine issue and mast cell activation. So he comes to me and says, how do I reduce histamine? And I said, histamine is not the issue. It's what's driving the histamine up that's the problem, right? It's not like you need to take something to dampen the histamine. It's why is it happening in the first place? And this whole mast cell and cell danger response that's going on is being driven by something. That's where we need to focus. And that's being driven by behavior and beliefs and so on. It's not being driven at this top end. And it's just important that people realize you've got trillions of cells in your body. And if you're taking if you're taking 5 supplements, an ibuprofen, a sleeping pill, and a cholesterol statin, you cannot possibly predict how those in combination are going to react within your body. It's impossible, right? So everybody's different, everybody's individual, and until people start looking at this from an individualistic and go, right, here's a year to clean the decks, start again from the ground up, and we can make this significant difference to your life. Until people start turning up and going, can you put me down for a year, please? I need to sort myself out, and realize it takes that long, they're always going to be frustrated. They're never going to get the results they're after.
And not to go against something Paul said a little while ago, people with long-term chronic illnesses like Alzheimer's, like almost anything, there's always a good chance that a lot of that can be reversed, given taking away the oxidative stress and all the things that have happened. There are certain points where, there's been too much damage, but that's for the practitioner to help figure out, to accept the fact that your loved one with, well, I'll just use Alzheimer's because we just said it, that's the way it's going to be, or, some kind of neurological disease that they say like MS is, oh, well, it's just going to continue and this is what's going to happen. I have to say it ain't necessarily so.
We know a lot of people jointly. We know a lot of people with MS who are perfectly functioning perfectly well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And were at one time in a wheelchair and disabled and couldn't
Exactly.
do anything. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
not all of a sudden, but after years of work,
Right.
not all of a sudden, years of work, they're fully functioning people that don't have the issue with it.
Exactly.
So,
and we could talk about this for hours.
Yes,
but we promised to keep it to about 15 minutes. So,
and that's about an hour already, whatever it is. So,
yeah. Okay, guys, we'll see you again next week. Paul, thanks so much for your insight. I always appreciate it, man.
my
Take
pleasure.
care.